There is a very interesting concept in psychology called functional autonomy. This is formulated by one Gordon Allport. The concept of functional autonomy says means become ends in themselves. Very simple thing. That means activities that are formulated in order to fulfill certain needs originally, when the original needs are fulfilled or motives are fulfilled, the activities themselves become ends in themselves. That means they become the motives in themselves. Even when they are not required, they continue to be carried out. I have a feeling something like this happens in our HR policies and HR activities and the way we in the HR profession also behave. Sometimes we start a function, we start a HR activity in order to fulfill a need at that particular point of time. But the need is fulfilled, but we continue to use it. For example, the whole concept of forced distribution that was introduced by some of the companies was meant to serve a purpose at a given point of time in performance appraisals. Managers didn't have the courage to call spade a spade, and everyone they were rating as outstanding performers in order to please their juniors. So therefore, some of the companies said you cannot do that, then therefore you will have to force to distribute. There can only be some 20% outstanding performers, and they must be compulsorily 20% I think poor performers, and the remaining may be average performers. So you work out a normal distribution and therefore you distribute. So that is something which was introduced with a specific purpose. But after 3 to 4 years, when people have learned this, you will continue to have it because it becomes a requirement and it creates all kinds of negative kind of images and so on. I mean, this is just an example. This is one example, but I don't know. There can be far better examples. When you examine, when a HR department examines a number of activities that they are doing and asks the question, is this necessary? You will discover a large number of activities are not required. The same way, I think you start finding that the HR managers and their knowledge may also have become a little bit dated. So with the technological improvements, so much to benchmark, so much to learn. So a self-renewal is a mechanism where the entire team of HR people take some time off, go to a place outside, examine the roles they are performing, examine the activities, examine the kind of purpose they are serving, and rejuvenate themselves, renew themselves, and come up with a redesigned, replanned action so that they can make a better kind of an impact. So self-renewal process helps people to examine their vision, reformulate the vision, recapitulate the vision, and realign their kind of a work, eliminate non-essentials, work out more essential part, and this is a process of growth. Imagine a company with about 25 HR staff, when they went for a self-renewal workshop, discovered that about 30 to 40% of their time they were spending only in entertaining consultants and consulting projects. They were largely, instead of doing things themselves, they have largely delegated all their work to consultants, and most of the time they are only spending in examining tenders, in evaluating tenders, in getting some of these consultants and organizing interviews with line managers and so on and so forth. I think which was a significant about 30 to 40% of the time, and they found that their own time in implementing and doing a real good HR work has gone off. So this helps them to really relook at their work and rejuvenate themselves and re-establish their supremacy and so on. In one company, when I had done a self-renewal exercise, all the team went from Bombay to Goa, spent a couple of days, examined their own kind of personality patterns, exchanged, and also learned a lot from each other. Because sometimes we assign tasks to different members in the HR team, and sometimes we don't know how we are integrating with each one of these and so on. So self-renewal helps as a mechanism to integrate the HR team itself and align the HR team with the rest of the corporation and things like that. Some of these issues I have discussed in one exclusive chapter in Hurconomics on self-renewal. This is the chapter where I also talked of the question of value addition of HR managers and so on. So you may like to go through this chapter, and I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. And I'm sure after this, some of the HR departments would organize self-renewal workshops. A small investment of 2 days can be a kind of a both kind of a semi-holiday with families and things like that, can go a long way in rejuvenating the entire HR contributions and help you to make a lot of difference in your corporation.